Hello everybody and welcome to the Suddenplant Show. Today we have a special guest. Our friend the Paratrooper has decided to run for president in 2012, and he has for us a 10-point plan for reform. So, how are you feeling today, my good sir?
Optimistic.
That's good to hear. So, I'm really anxious to hear your 10-point plans. I hear you have some good ideas for us.
I gotta warn you, though, some of what I'm attempting to describe to you is going to be very daring, but it's certain things that need to be done for our country.
Well, that sounds really good. I'm very interested to hear because a lot of, we do need big ideas. We definitely do. So, let's see. What's your first point on your plan?
Well, Suddenplant. My first plan for the 10-point, share the wealth program is, how would you like this? All colleges and universities are now state and locally owned. Locally owned colleges will be your community colleges and your schools like McCann's School of Business. And all the professors and lecturers at these colleges are now state and local employees. Higher education is now free for anybody who wants to use it. So, and this new program is going to be funded by new taxes levied on the citizens, because I truly believe that any country that cannot afford to educate its citizens cannot truly deserve to live and survive. What do you believe about that?
That's an interesting idea. I think I rather like that. So you're saying that everyone should be able to have secondary or higher education, no matter what background they come from.
Exactly.
Yeah, because as you're saying, any country that can't educate its people isn't going to survive.
You're going to completely eliminate financial aid now. Which
yes.
is, of course, a problem all kids have once they get out of college. They're handed this huge bill of debt, and they think, I'm probably going to have to be paying this for the next 20 to 30 years.
Yeah, so now people aren't going to be stuck with college debt after they graduate.
Okay. Number 2. Every citizen over the age of 65 will now be guaranteed a minimum Social Security payment of $50,000, no matter how much you make during your lifetime. You can, of course, gain a minimum, Social Security payment of over $50,000 a year, but no matter who, welfare people, rich people, it doesn't matter your class and background, you are guaranteed $50,000 right after you retire at 65. 65 will now be the mandatory retirement age. That way Social Security will be sound forever and ever. Now this $50,000 a year minimum Social Security payment will be adjusted for inflation over time.
Yes, that sounds very interesting. And how will you pay for this Social Security?
Your taxes are going to have to go up.
Yes, the Social Security taxes.
Right.
Well, that sounds good.
Number 3, there must now be a universal healthcare system for all in the country. All your hospitals are now state-owned, and all your doctors and nurses and anybody else who works in the medical profession is now a state employee as well, because any country that cannot afford to give health care for all of its citizens and take care of them when they are sick will truly collapse in and of itself.
Right, very wise, because after all, what kind of country just lets its citizens go sick?
Exactly. And of course, this is going to have to be funded by new taxes levied on the citizens. And before I discuss number 4, I know what question you have for me right now, Suddenplant. You are thinking, Paratrooper, your citizens are not going to like how you're going to have to raise their taxes to pay for all of this stuff left and right, and will your economy eventually collapse due to a higher, business taxes and personal taxes levied on the citizens? But wait till you see what comes next. I'm
very curious to hear.
Number 4, every illegal drug that exists out there, whether it be marijuana, cocaine, heroin, or a crack, is now legalized everywhere in the United States. You can now go down to your local Wises and buy a 5-pound bag of marijuana. This will open up new markets for everybody in the country, and it will give the government a brand new source of a tax revenue that they never had before. I mean, if this industry is already worth millions and millions of dollars as a whole, why not legalize it so you can make all these drug dealer gangs responsible citizens? I mean, you may not, like what they are doing, but at least they are doing it legal now.
Yeah, and those gangs will cease to exist if their illegal activities are no longer illegal.
You'll cut down on violence.
And also, won't you save a bunch of money because you won't be prosecuting this war on drugs the government's been doing?
Isn't this war on drugs nothing but a big joke?
Yeah, and under your plan, it can finally end.
It will end.
Very good.
Number 5. Gambling is now legalized everywhere in the country. Every town can build its own local casino, and this gambling industry is already worth millions of dollars as it is anyway. So by tapping into this market and making all bookies, responsible citizens, bookies now have to get a license from the state in order to operate their business, but your local bookie can now have an office downtown. So by making him a responsible citizen and by requiring him to declare his income to the government, this will give the government sufficient tax revenue in order to pay for all of my programs.
That sounds very good.
Number 6. Here's something that I don't believe anybody has ever truly tried. Frozen salaries. No government worker, whether it be a federal, state, or local legislature or employee, is allowed to make over $100,000 a year. The reason for this is this move will bring the government closer to the people, and it will require the government legislatures to get into the game out of a natural desire in order to help the citizens rather than get into it with all the perks and benefits that our government legislatures enjoy. Now these frozen salaries will enable the government to save so much on salaries during the year and use that extra money in order to pay for all of our other programs as well.
Very good idea. Very good idea.
Number 7. There will now be a 50% increase on all tariffs paid by the government for all imports that cannot be manufactured or grown in this country. This can encourage American production once again, and we will not have to rely on all of our foreign nations for all of our things like our clothing, some of our food, and things like that. And we have to in turn, we have to require all of these other countries to pay a 50% increased tariff on all exports that we trade once again. So that way, those countries can stop relying on our products as well, and they can become a little more efficient as well. And with this brand new increase in a tariff and this energetic American production once again, we will have to have less relations with foreign countries. We can pursue a more isolationist policy for this country. We can cut down on our defense and state budgets as well.
Very good. So we'll be much more self-reliant as a country.
Right, exactly. 8. Now, no American citizen is allowed to have more than $1 million in the stock market. Because I do not believe that the stock market should be an exclusive rich boys club anymore. By limiting the amount of money that you are allowed to buy into the stock, you will decrease the stock price enough so that the stock market will become much more affordable for many other local citizens, and that way plenty of welfare people and lower class people will now be able to afford the stock, and you will and you will actually grow the stock market even more by spreading around its wealth rather than just concentrating it on the millionaires and billionaires within this country.
So more people will be able to take advantage of the stock market.
Exactly. Number 9. All state legislatures and the federal Congress must now be made up of a single body legislature instead of the Senate and the House. I request that all Senates be right now abolished, because this will definitely cut down on the number of government workers, and it was another way for a more efficient government. Do you know Nebraska has already been going along with this unicameral legislature for quite a while now, and it seems to truly succeed for them, so you have to look at their example and say, if they do it, why can't we? And also, our brand new legislatures all have to have a 6-year term. That means the House, the congressmen need to have a 6-year term, and the president needs to have a 6-year term as well, because this is going to cut down on the number of elections that our country needs to have, and all of our politicians can now spend a lot less time campaigning and a lot more time doing the things that they should be doing, which is governing.
That's a good idea.
And there is less campaign money that has to be funded nowadays through less elections going on.
Yes, and that's a good thing.
Number 10. No American is allowed to own more than 4 properties at one time. That means they can own their own home, they can own 2 other rental properties if they need to, and they can own a summer home. This will cut down on the number of absentee landlords that we have in this country, and by rich people not buying up as many properties, you will make more wealthier homes within the country more affordable for local citizens.
Yeah, because with less of these rich people buying up all these houses, there's going to be more properties available for people.
That is my 10-point Share the Wealth program that I've now presenting for the American people. I hope you would choose to elect me in 2012 so we can go on this magical journey together.
Well, my good sir, thank you for sharing these points with us on the Suddenplant Show, and good luck on your campaign.
Will you be my new campaign manager?
Sure, why not?
Nice to have you aboard.
Yes, absolutely, my good sir.
But you know what, Suddenplant?
Uh-huh.
Looking at all of these notes that I have written down on my Share the Wealth program, I've actually come to a conclusion about something.
Yeah?
Let's just screw all this and put a dictator in power.